Hey everybody, I'm Logan Camden, and this is Nerd Sesh.
No! Oh my God! How could he do that?
Are you on What?
Charles Darwin.
Today we are continuing our string of interviewing sports journalism students, and today I am happy to say that I will be interviewing my co-host, Mr. Carson Breber.
Hey Logan, thanks for having me on the show. It's a big honor. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I was wondering if we were going to be able to get you on. I'm really happy that you made it out.
Yeah, well, it's a shame that the more handsome of the two hosts couldn't be here today in the interviewer spot, but maybe next time.
I agree. I think we'll have to get him on at some point.
Absolutely.
So to get us started, Carson, what is your favorite sport?
All right, well, my absolute favorite sport would have to be NBA basketball. That is just the thing that I can go deepest in, that I can spend the most ridiculous amount of hours researching the history of, watching film of, reading articles about, for whatever reason, disgusting amounts of time going on Sporkle, taking quizzes. And then also I really love football and I really love tennis.
Yeah, tennis was an odd
Yes.
one. When I met you and you said, yeah, I like tennis. You were the first guy I've ever heard that has gone deep into tennis. You want to go into a bit of your fandom about it?
Sure. Well, it all originates from the fact that I've been a tennis player my whole life. My dad has been a very good tennis player, although I am probably a little bit better than him now. He was the number one 12-year-old in Canada, fun fact, back when there was 14 people in the country.
Hey, Pierre, he's coming for your head.
Yeah, Pierre and we have some good competitive fun. But so I've just been playing tennis since I was 5. It was actually my first favorite sport. My first favorite athlete ever was Novak Djokovic, who is still my favorite athlete of all time. I was 5. I basically picked him out of a hat. I have no idea how he was number 16 in the world at the time, just this Serbian guy who I thought was underrated. That's how I determined all my favorite athletes, if I thought they were underrated. I loved Lamar Odom as a kid too for the same reason. And then number 3 in the world from 27 to 2010, 2011, had one of the greatest seasons ever, and now 16 Grand Slams and one of the greatest players ever.
Well, that's funny. You answered my next question, who your favorite athlete was.
Yeah.
Was not a word. So any other favorite athletes from other sports?
Yeah, you want me to walk you down the history of it? Because they've changed a lot.
I would love that.
Okay, so let's start with basketball. My first favorite basketball player ever was Tim Duncan. And Lamar Odom was my second favorite player. In fact, Tim Duncan was my favorite player. I don't know if I could tell you why. I was actually really a Spurs fan until I was probably like 12. Just because I thought they were underrated. And I was kind of right, because for a team that won 5 championships, they probably weren't discussed enough. But it was Tim Duncan for a long time. And then it became, I think Draymond Green was my next favorite player. I absolutely loved Draymond Green, really starting with that 2014-15 season.
And you know what? I have to agree. When I was a kid, I used to love watching San Antonio play.
Absolutely.
Beautiful basketball until now. A lot of teams are playing really pretty basketball with the 3-shot. You said Draymond Green.
Draymond was my favorite player. Another guy, I guess I carried this on into my teens. It was the underrated principle, because I thought this guy is doing so much. First of all, I loved him as a pick when we took him 5th in the second round out of Michigan State. Me and my friend were both jumping with joy because we were really high on him as a prospect, even at our young ages. We were evaluating the draft. And I loved him. I loved the fact that he was such an all-around player, defensive monster, a playmaker. And then in the past couple of years, my favorite player has become Steph Curry, with a little bit of the decline of Draymond and a little bit of an increase in the antics. I've shifted towards Steph, who to me is just the consummate superstar, so likable, so fun to watch stylistically, and just an all-around amazing player.
My dad loves Steph Curry too. I mean, he'll just talk my head off about Steph did this, Steph did that. And the Warriors are another fun team to watch. A lot of people discredit the Warriors because of how much they won and they're the bandwagon team. But they are really, if you watch a game, it's beautiful basketball.
And it was even more beautiful before the Kevin Durant era, when it was even more ball movement and you had more of just the utterly spectacular performances from Steph, who, as such an unselfish player establishing that culture, it was just so beautiful to watch. I wish we had never gotten Kevin Durant, and I felt that we were the better team after those 2015-16 finals. I wanted to run it back. Of course, that's not what happened. I won't complain about 2 championships, but Steph is the guy right now.
So moving forward, who is your favorite team?
Well, do you want me to hit on my favorite players from football? I didn't talk football.
You know what? Go ahead.
Okay, so football, I think my first favorite player was Aaron Rodgers. I just thought he was awesome, and he was a Cal guy. And so in my young age, my dad went to Cal, and I'm from the Bay Area. So that was where my allegiances first lied. And then After that, I guess, I don't know. I really liked Eli when I was really young. I liked Phillip Rivers. This is all when I was like 8 to 10. Logan hates Logan hates Phillip Rivers. And then starting with the Buffalo Bills era, well, I was, for like a couple years, I was pretty much a Niners fan. And I really liked a lot of those guys. I loved Aldon Smith, actually. I loved Justin Smith. Vernon Davis was awesome. I never really, though I don't know if I could ever call any of them a single favorite player of mine, though. But then Sammy Watkins was my favorite player. When Sammy was a Bill, I absolutely loved him. I was so happy to see week 1 of this season. He just went insane for the Chiefs. No one deserves it more. An amazing player. I said right away, in his second year with us, he had, I believe, 1,078 yards and 8 touchdowns, I want to say, in just 14 games. He's a top 10 wide receiver talent in the league, and he has been. He just has to stay healthy. And now more recently, it has been, well, Jerry Hughes. I have a Jerry Hughes jersey. I also had a Marcel Darius jersey, who, of course, couldn't
Stay off the weed,
as Stephen A would say. And then Tre'Davious White is probably my other favorite player. I really hope he sticks around. I love him. He's a top 10 corner in the league.
It's so funny because when I met you and I said, who's your favorite Bills player? And you go, Jerry Hughes. It's such an interesting answer. It's not like I've paid a whole lot of attention to Bills games in the past, but Jerry Hughes, an interesting answer from a Bills fan.
He's one of the, I mean, if you think about guys, longest tenured Bills, he's one of the legitimate contributors that's been with us for a while. We just lost Eric Wood and Kyle Williams, who were the 2 longest guys before that. So Jerry's been around for a while, and he's really fun to watch, and he's super talented, sometimes just a little undisciplined.
So moving forward, what turned you into a Bills fan?
Okay, well, I became a Bills fan probably when I was 12, I would say, because I remember in the 2012 Super Bowl, I was rooting for the 49ers. I was living overseas at the time. I couldn't watch the game because I was in school because of time zones, but I was following along and I was rooting for the Niners. And then the year after that, I would say I became a Bills fan. The reason for that being that my best friend's dad is from Rochester, New York, and so he was always a Buffalo Bills fan. My best friend is also a Buffalo Bills fan, and I watched football over at their house, and it was just sort of an infectious love of the game, and sort of by osmosis, I became a Bills fan, and I have never looked back. It's awesome, and we're 2-0 right now, and I'm super happy about it.
So moving forward, I definitely want to know, what is your favorite sports moment? And if you cannot narrow it down to one, let's hear a couple.
Yeah, okay, I'm probably going to have to give a lot for this. So my most recent favorite moment was actually in Wimbledon of this year when Novak Djokovic beat Roger Federer 13-12 in a 5th set tiebreak. I won't go too much into this for tennis, but it was for non-tennis fans, but it was a crazy moment. It was amazing. And then, so 2017, the Tyler Boyd, it's 4th and 12. Andy Dalton to Tyler Boyd on the 49-yard line. A totally meaningless game for the Bengals that meant everything for the Bills. The touchdown, 49 yards, got us into the playoffs. Absolutely amazing.
And I believe with them getting you guys in, it knocked the Ravens out, correct?
That's correct. So it was us and the Ravens competing for the spot. They beat the Ravens, knocked the Ravens out, got us in.
Trust me, Steeler fans were happy about it too.
It was, it was so amazing. The playoff drought obviously was long discussed, and to break it in that fashion, Andy Dalton, like I think every Bills fan donated money to Andy Dalton's charity after that.
I have to say, in that moment, Andy Dalton was that dude, huh?
Yeah, and he was really that guy as well. Basketball, God, more of the worst moments stand out to me in basketball. I think about the 2016 finals, which was the worst moment in my sports fandom, Game 7. I remember I was on vacation with actually my friend and his family and another friend, and we watched it in a restaurant, and the entire drive back, I don't think anyone spoke for the first 2 hours. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong in that series, from the Bogut injury to Harrison Barnes having the worst series of any relevant player ever, to the Draymond suspension, to Steph being hobbled with the ankle. I mean, everything went wrong to blow a 3-1 lead. That was devastating. And then in my younger years, the 2013 finals, this was really the last time that I was a Spurs fan, probably. Of course, when going into in the fourth quarter, when they blew the lead, when Manu missed the free throw, when they had the 2 threes, obviously culminating with the Ray Allen 3, that was devastating. I cried after that.
And I don't know if Carson's mentioned it already. He is from Oakland, so he's a real Warriors fan.
Yes. Sorry, that's not convenient timing. It's more the fact that I was a Spurs bandwagoner before that, but I was very young.
And I also have to say, that was one of my most painful sports memories as well. When Ray Allen hit that corner 3, just the Spurs were such an awesome dynasty, and I loved watching them play. And as a kid, Ray Allen was one of my favorite players in Boston. And when he went to Miami to team up with that ruffian LeBron James, I didn't lose any respect for him, but I didn't want to see him succeed. I wanted to see the Spurs win that series, and that hurt my soul a little bit too.
And not having Duncan in on that play to rebound is just like one of the coaching moments that it hurts.
They had Boris Diaw, didn't they?
I think they put Diaw in. Yeah, it was a weird decision. But so, okay, those are the worst moments. The best moment, the titles have all been amazing, but genuinely, I think that some of the best moments came on this past playoff run because it was Steph. Game 6 against the Rockets stands out to me. The second half of Game 5 against the Rockets stands out to me. The Portland series was so much fun. And then the 2015 title was amazing. The 2017 and 18 titles are just a notch below because we were so confident in them. Game 7 against the Rockets in 2018 in the Western Conference Finals also goes down along with Game 6. So some great ones against the Rockets are honestly some of my favorites. And then there's also there's a ton from tennis that I won't get into, but those have to be up there. I've gotten up at some very odd hours to watch a lot of great tennis matches in my life.
So, you said you've heard the show before, correct?
I've heard the show once or twice. I didn't think much of it.
Okay, well, I don't know if you know how this goes, but then we ask, what's a topic you want to talk about today?
Okay, well, Logan, as you and I are currently enjoying some dorm life, not many people have NFL Sunday Ticket. I do have it though. So you've been joining me in my room for the past 2 weeks, and we've watched 2 Buffalo Bills games. So I thought you're now an informed member of the Bills community, and as they are my favorite team of any, I thought that we could talk about the Buffalo Bills.
I'd love that. I am well phrased, an informed member of the Bills community.
Okay, so obviously we've started out 2-0. We won 2 games in MetLife Stadium. We beat the Jets 17-16. Then we beat the Giants 28-14. We have the Bengals coming up. Then we have the Pats. A pretty easy schedule this year until a 5-game stretch in which we have like the Ravens, the Cowboys, the Steelers, which actually might not be as hard anymore, I'm sorry to say, and the Pats in there. So that's going to be a tough stretch. But I have thought this whole time that we were going to be an 8 or 9 win team, probably a 9 win team just based off of the schedule. Now the schedule's looking a little better. We're looking good. I'm feeling good.
Well, and starting off 2-0 is so beneficiary to possibly making the playoffs because with how you guys, your defense is legit. You guys could genuinely make a run at the playoffs with, the Steelers are a cynical Steeler fan here. I'm rooting for my team in every game, and I think we can win every game, but it's not looking good for us. We just acquired Minkah Fitzpatrick, and I hope that acquisition works out, but I don't think we're going to be in the playoff running a whole lot longer with such a young quarterback in. It opens up a spot, and with how your schedule looks, I think the Bills have a shot.
Yeah, I do think that we have a shot, actually. A lot of this hinges on Josh Allen. Josh Allen had a very up and down, we'll say, week 1. He had 4 turnovers in the first half, played well down the stretch, was able to close it out. Week 2 was better, but really, I think that Giants defense is really bad. We had a lot of wide open receivers, and Allen's placement of the ball was still a little bit inconsistent. Had a couple really nice throws, could have had definitely a touchdown on a throw to, I'm blanking on who, but he was just absolutely wide open on the left side of the field, and Allen overthrew him, should have been a touchdown.
I have to say, Allen made some really good throws on the run, and it really impressed me. But as you said, he needs to be more consistent on his accuracy, and that's always been a criticism of him. He's a wild Bronco in the draft.
Yeah.
I think if he can consistently deliver the ball, he's got the arm talent, he's got the wheels, he's got the brain. Allen, if he can put it together, he'll be a dangerous guy. And let me ask you this. Where do you have him now on that QB draft? Where do you have him in your rankings?
I think right now he is I don't want to put Lamar Jackson above him just because I'm a little bit of a skeptic of Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson is no doubt above him right now. Lamar Jackson through 2 weeks has been the second best statistical quarterback in football. So I have him at 3. I mean, Darnold looked really shaky against us in week 1. I don't know if the mono was acting up, but he could not throw the ball.
I hadn't watched a whole lot of Sam Darnold as my team's not in the AFC East. I don't believe we played Darnold last year. Darnold looked terrible. Yeah, and I really don't feel bad about saying that. Darnold was throwing duck after duck after duck, and he looked rough.
Well, on their final stand, where they're on their final chance to convert, he threw 4 of the worst balls I've ever seen. They were just hanging up there, and the spin was all weird. There was no spiral. And then Josh Rosen, I was a huge believer in Josh Rosen in the draft. I was very upset that we took Josh Allen, but you can't even evaluate him right now. He's been in the 2 worst situations in the NFL.
I was a big Josh Rosen guy coming out of the draft, and I thought you guys were going to trade up to get him. But I'm still a Rosen guy. I'm not going to put him above anyone. I think Baker's 2, Jackson's 1, Allen's 3. But I'll tell you, that guy and that dude is Devin Singletary.
Yes, we very much agree on this. Devin Singletary, through 2 weeks, is averaging 12.7 yards per carry, and we are not giving him the ball. He does have a hamstring injury right now, but it's apparently not supposed to be that serious. We're filming this on Mondays. This will come out on Friday, so you guys might know if he's going to play or not by then, but I'm very hopeful that he plays, and I'm very hopeful that Brian Daboll incorporates him into the offense a lot more because he is such a smart runner. He's patient. He doesn't seem to be lightning fast, but he makes the right cuts. He makes the right reads, and he just it seems like every time he touches the ball, he gets at least 10 yards, and he's 12 carries through 2 weeks.
And some guys on the defensive side of the ball have impressed me watching these Bills games. Trent Murphy has looked good.
The whole line.
Yeah, Ed Oliver has really impressed me for being such a young guy, as well as one of your favorite players, Tre'Davious White.
Yes.
And I was skeptical at first. But I believe before the Jets game, Carson says the Bills' secondary is top 5 in the league. And I have to say, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer are solid. They are solid.
Yeah, Jordan Poyer has been great. And Hyde is, to me, it's one of the best safety tandems in the league. And then you throw in a top 10 corner in the league in Tre'Davious White. That's some great stuff. You mentioned the line play has been really good. Just last week against Eli, they were batting balls like crazy. Murphy's been getting into the backfield. Ed Oliver has been an absolute disruptor. There's a lot to like about the defensive side of the ball. And the offense, I think, is where we have to evaluate how good we actually are, because we did not look good for 3 weeks, for 3 quarters against the Jets. We looked good for, a little over half the game against the Giants, but how much of that was just atrocious defense by the Giants? We don't know. Brian Daboll, I don't know how much I like him as an OC yet. This is his second year. He had I think that his play calling looked pretty good against the Giants because there were a lot of guys open. But again, how much of that was just utter lapses in coverage?
I have to say, I really like the Cole Beasley acquisition for you guys. Cole has looked good. Yeah. He's of course, a Steeler guy I'm going to compare him to. He's really a Ryan Switzer type guy too.
But better.
Yeah, probably.
But a lot better.
I'd probably say. Both little slot guys you can just get the ball to and shifty. And I believe
both former return men too.
Very correct.
Yeah.
I really like what Cole has done. He's kind of a bit of a safety valve for Josh Allen. Who's at tight end for you guys?
Well, we have a couple people. We have Dawson Knox. We have Lee Smith. And what is our last guy's name? We have one more guy. So we kind of go between 3. Knox, I think, is the quote-unquote starter.
I'd like for Allen to look to his tight end a little more because you see a young quarterback.
Oh, Sweeney. Sweeney's our third guy.
I'd like for Allen to find Sweeney, Smith, or Dawson Knox because I think a young guy like Josh Allen needs a safety valve. And you've seen what Lamar Jackson has done with Mark Andrews. And I was high on Mark Andrews last year. And I believe he was hurt some of the year. And Joe Flacco's not too good. Anyway, Mark Andrews, I really liked the selection last year, and I think that Lamar Jackson has utilized his tight ends well with Hurst and Andrews, and I think Allen could take a page out of his book and use his tight ends a little more. They're easy completions. It keeps your completion percentage high. I know that quarterbacks in the game are not thinking about their stats, but you get easy completions, 3 to 4 yards, and it'll accumulate.
Absolutely. Another guy who deserves a shout out is John Brown. I was skeptical of our receiver signings when we got Beasley and Brown because I was like, we still have nothing approaching a number 1 in this league. I thought these guys are kind of low-end number 2s, but they've both been really good. Brown has the play-breaking speed. He's a solid route runner. He has pretty good hands. He's been really good for us thus far. Obviously had the game-winning touchdown against the Jets. So this is a much improved offensive unit. The line is better. 4 new starters on the line. We have the rookie Cody Ford. We got Mitch Morse. And so there's stuff to like there compared to last year where our O-line was just abysmal. Obviously, Josh Allen had a really tough year, 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions, 53% completion. Shady McCoy couldn't get anything going because they could just stack the box, and the receivers were terrible. We are definitely looking a lot better offensively this year, but the question is, how good is Allen? Hopefully we can incorporate Singletary in more because I think that he can open up a lot of opportunities for us.
And before we move on, I'd like to say Cody Ford is a dog. I love Cody Ford. I think he's a beast. My final question for you before we wrap up is, what are your season expectations for the Bills after starting off the season 2-0?
I think, well, hold on, actually. I might want to look at the schedule. My gut instinct is 9-7, but let's run down the schedule game by game. Okay, so first of all, we have the Bengals at home. That should definitely be a win.
It is a winnable game at home.
At home against the Patriots, that's a loss, I think. So now we're looking at 3-1. On the road against the Titans.
The Titans are such a sketchy team.
It's a real toss-up. I'm looking ahead to a certain game that I think we're going to win, so I'll count this one as a loss. So now we'll go 3-2 at home against the Dolphins. God, I hope that's a win. 4-2 at home against the Eagles. I think it's a win.
I think you can be. The Eagles, I have not been high on the Eagles because Carson Wentz cannot seem to stay healthy, and I feel for the guy. But if he can't stay healthy, then the Eagles aren't going to win.
And let's just say I will be at that game. I am undefeated at Bills games. I'm 4-0 in my life. They have pulled off some upsets. They've beaten the Cardinals, who were supposed to be a powerhouse. They beat the Titans last year. So I believe in it. So does that put us at 5-2?
Yep.
And then the Redskins at home, that's a win, right?
I think that's a winnable game.
So that's 6-2 at the road against the Browns. I don't even know if I'll give it to us, but it could totally be a win.
I'm going to count this one as a loss.
That's
the Browns
fine
are kind of sneaky. We'll go 6-3 right now.
6-3 at on the road against the Dolphins. Better be a win. 7-3 at home against the Broncos.
You can win that.
Should be a win. 8-3. And now this is the brutal stretch that I was talking about. At the Cowboys, that is a loss. 8-4. At home against the Ravens.
The Ravens are tough, man.
Yeah. So we'll count that as a. Here's what I'll say. I think we'll split Ravens Steelers. We have the Steelers on the road. We have the Ravens at home.
So you'll be 9-5.
I think we'll win one. We'll go 9-5, lose to the Pats, beat the Jets at home. So that's 10-6, and that feels very reasonable.
And it feels like you could have a run at the playoffs.
It certainly feels like it. And again, we're only 2 weeks in. We'll have to see how Allen performs down the stretch. But the defense you have to buy into. This is definitely I think probably a top 5 defense in the league.
That's all I was going to say is this defense is legit. Offense has some question marks, but if Devin Singletary and Josh Allen can keep it running, the Bills are a big question mark and could mess up some people's predictions.
Yeah, and just to shout out one more Buffalo Bill, Saron Neal has been great on special teams, so I would like to give him some credit.
Saron?
Yes.
Well, shout out Saron.
Shout out to Saron.
I think that'll do it for us.
It's been a pleasure.
I have enjoyed picking your brain, Carson.
It's been a pleasure having my brain picked.
I have been Logan Camden.
I've been Carson Breber.
And this has been Nerd Sesh. Make sure to give us a follow on Twitter at nerd_sesh and on Instagram at nerdsesh to stay posted on all of our Nerd Sesh content and Hoop Nerds content if you're interested in listening to some basketball stuff. As well as please look us up on YouTube. If you've missed anything, you can easily access all of our episodes there for Hoop Nerds and Nerd Sesh.